As you can see, George has returned home from Quality Sewing and Vacuum in Everett, Washington. I am very curious to dig in and see. I haven't touched anything other than taking him out of the case that I carry him around in. It's not a case that is provided with a sewing machine when you purchase, or back 26 years ago when I purchased this sewing machine, the options were, I think at that time it was like $85 for the case, or you got the little free plastic cover that promptly disintegrated. You know, honestly, I can't even remember how long it lasted. I still have it somewhere. I can't bear to get rid of it. I mean, it is, you know, it's got Bernina written on it, but the plastic part has pulled away from the red bias tape that they use to stitch it together, and it's just kind of ugly and old, and you know, it's almost 30. So anyway, we're going to dig into all of the things. I have a checklist. I want to try to move Brother Louie off of the mat that I purchased so that they don't bounce on this table anymore. We know how Brother Louie works. He's brand new. We've seen almost everything in action. So I'm going to go get that checklist and then move Brother Louie and put George onto the mat, and we'll begin the kind of the breakdown checklist and see how things are as far as the way that George is running. And I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm set up now to sort of run over what I discovered when I brought George home from Quality. And the first thing is, of course, that there's this, I don't think it's tape, I think it's just like a saran wrap wrapped around to keep these bits and pieces within the confines of this part of my sewing machine right here. So we'll start off with this sheet of paper here that talks about what you're going to have done. Now, when I took George in, my complaint was that my stitches were uneven and it was a random occurrence. So in other words, I would have even stitches, and then I would have tight, horrible stitches, and then I would have even stitches that were matched to what I had set George at, and then tight, and then even. Okay, I'm not sure that that issue was ever addressed. I could be wrong. I really, really could be wrong. So we're just going to kind of go through it. So the premium service is as of this date, which would be April 24th of 2021. Their premium service is $179 for this sewing machine. I don't know if that's true of all of their sewing machines, but this one it is $179. Bulb, 6-volt, 4-watt Bernina bayonet, $5.99, and I guess there was 2 of these for $11.98. Switch, I have no idea what switch B, Bernina something. That must be a number, $8.99, $8.99. They did not need to provide a bobbin. They did not need to provide a foot control, or a power cord. So the total was $219.97. That's in Washington State. This information right here was provided to me on this date when I dropped George off at the sewing machine place, so Quality Sewing and Vacuum. On the day that I picked up George, this was provided to me. Let's just dig in here. Let's just get to it. I'm going to unwrap this saran wrap. Now I'm also going to point out on the top there is a spool of thread that I did not provide. There is also 2 red felt thread pads, one on this post and one on this post, that I did not provide. Not because I didn't have them, but because I never had them. I'm assuming it's a new item. Oops. Yeah, it's not sticky, it's just like plastic wrap. Okay, so the first thing here is my power cord. This right here happened almost immediately after I bought George, and my husband, being an engineer, fixed it. I will plug the machine in. I have never had George on this squishy pad. I bought it after I bought Brother Louie, so this will be a new experience. And then I'm going to have to lift the needle or the presser foot up, and the needle to remove these items. Looks like they provided me with a class universal machine needle. That's nice. It is a 8012. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, and now I feel comfortable to remove the gas pedal, which is very dusty, by the way. Okay. And again, I have now one of these to figure out a use for. Alright, gas pedal on the floor. Okay, so let's let's wait and see a minute here. We'll look at the list. Install new needle. Checked. I don't really know what that means. Like, is this my old needle? It doesn't look like it. But is this a new needle? It's not a class needle. So is this the one that I sent the sewing machine? This isn't clear information to me. So maybe I'm supposed to do that? It just says checked. Install new needle. Checked. Notes. Number 8012 universal needle. Well, that's what's right here in this case. I don't know. Alright, well, I guess I will. Now the next thing says inspect needle plate. Oh, let's see, maybe here's something. Oh, coupon, free needles, buy 2 packs of class needles and get 1 pack free. Free thread, buy 2 spools of Madeira thread and get 1 spool free. I don't see an expiration date on this, so that's lovely. That's a very nice coupon right there. Both of those items are extremely expensive. At least if you do change out your needles and use as much thread as I do. And I do change my needles out. It's kind of funny that they assume I don't. There's all these little reminders to do things, which obviously they can't assume or not assume. Okay, so here are the 2 little stitchy, we checked them things. They look really good. Here's the other one. Really nice. There's a buttonhole. And these are the stitches. This was done on what I would consider to be like a woven polyester. And I don't see any skipped stitches. That looks really nice right there. Very even. And both the front where the needle would be and the back where the bobbin would be look lovely. This is like a fleece fabric, very fleecy, and again they've basically done the same thing. I have a straight stitch, I have a zigzag stitch, I have stitch number I believe that is stitch number 13. Yes, one that I rarely use. And then kind of a blanket stitch and a likely number 20, could be 19. Looks very nice, and they've done all of those with the exception of this one right here on this lighter blue fabric in the same order. So that's the two. I'll just hold it like this. That's the needle side, and this is the bobbin side. They did not do a buttonhole on this, but that is the buttonhole. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is turn the machine on and look at the third item here. Well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and dig into the second one, which is inspect needle plate. And then adjusted notes are the words in the dark print, and it says polished burrs and needle strikes from the needle plate, which can contribute to tension problems and low stitch quality. So apparently they removed this and polished off any of the burrs where in this area right. Let me get you where you can see. Right here where the needle would be entering into the machine. I guess that's what they mean by the needle strikes, because my needle would not have been striking out of that open area. Okay, so the next is inspect the hook. Well, the hook is in the bobbin area. I am not going to remove any of that. I find it just too hard to put all that back together. And there is a weird little spring that just, yeah, they mentioned that right here. Inspect, check spring. They checked it. If that spring comes out, getting it back in correctly, unless you have information about how to do that, it's down in here. And hoo-ha, I did it once and I'm never doing it again. Okay, inspect upper tension assembly. So all of this business up here. And it says, checked. I don't see any adjusted notes there. Check hook and needle timing, and there are no adjusted notes there. And I'm just going to have to assume if there aren't adjusted notes, then that means that something wasn't wrong with that particular area of the sewing machine. The hook and needle timing, so the needle and the hook, which is what creates these beautiful, lovely, even, perfect stitches. Looks fine. The spacing between the hook and the needle was also checked. No adjusted notes. Needle bar height was checked. I guess that's this right here. This part right there. That was checked, no adjusted notes. The presser bar height, so the bar would be back here. Just checked, no adjusted notes. Center needle position. That appears to have been changed. Uh-oh. George's needle isn't moving. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I had it set on a stitch. Oh, my heart. Oh, my God. Okay, yeah. All right, so let me back up so you can see. That was a moment right there. Okay, so right here is where you adjust where the needle is on your sewing machine. If it's to the left 2 ticks or to the right 2 ticks, you push this little button and it moves to the right, and then it goes back to center, and then you push it again twice and it moves to the left 2 ticks. Okay, that apparently was checked and is fine. Feed dogs, it says checked, no adjusted notes. Calibrate the top tension, checked, no adjusted notes. Bobbin case tension was adjusted, so that must have been an issue. I'm afraid to check it. I'm not even going to look because I do tend to mess with that when I'm sewing. So I'm just going to leave it alone, and we'll see what happens as we go along in the next few months. Reverse feed balance was checked. The bobbin winder and clutch, and that of course is this right here, was checked. Motor and belt were checked. It says check knee lift if applicable, and I do not have the knee lift. As you can see, my sewing machine was pressed. Let's see if I can get that where you can see it. Was pressed for a knee lift assembly right here. There's that little, but I bought the sewing machine that did not come with knee lift. I felt like I wouldn't use it and I didn't need to spend the extra money for that feature. They didn't have to check that. It just says if applicable. Clean and delint the machine, checked. Okay, there's that. Delint. Oil hook area, adjusted notes. Hook assembly lubricated. To oil the hook, add 1 to 2 drops of oil to the hook tip every 2 to 4 bobbins worth of thread. Oil brushings, if applicable, checked. Check hard keys, touchpad, this right here. These would be the hard keys. I don't have a touchpad, clearly. They did check it. They did do a sewing test. They did check the buttonhole. And then other, it says, notes, installed a new light system and light bulbs. The switch was gummy and would not turn on consistently due to age. So I don't turn off this light when I'm done sewing because I just turn off my sewing machine, and when I turn off my sewing machine the light clearly turns off without me turning off the light switch. So I didn't know that it was gummy and gross. That's weird. But now that I know that I've got a brand new light switch and light assembly and a light bulb and all that stuff, I feel really kind of good. Like George has gotten a little upgrade there. So that is the whole entire list of things on this right here. All of that. And now I am going to do my own sewing test. I'm going to take some fabric. Let's see. Random sizes. Let's start off with a heavier cotton. This is about the same weight. So I'm just going to line these up and stitch right along this line right here. I am going to put the machine and needle down because it's what I normally stitch. That I noticed is different. It used to be I'd have to wiggle this button a little bit to get it to go into the needle down position to sew, and I didn't have to do that. I'm in the number 1, which is a straight stitch. I'm going to just let it be in the default length and width, and we're going to go and see what happens here. Alright, and when I get to the end, which I have, both of the fabrics, this fabric is way back here, I'm going to reverse to see how the reverse system works now. Okay. Alright, so there's that first. I don't think you can see. Maybe right here you can see these stitches right along that edge right there. Alright, let's open this up. I'm pulling for pressure. I want to make sure the stitches are nice and tight. Sorry, I have an airplane buzzing my house. Alright, that is nice. Very, very nice. Alright, I've opened up my seam allowances, and I'm going to do a decorative stitch on the blue side so we can see what it looks like. I'm going to do stitch number 13, my needle moved, got this foot on, needle down, and here we go. Alright, so there is that stitch right there. That looks fine. Alrighty, just leave that over there. And now I'm going to do some very lightweight fabric. These two cottons are beyond a shadow of a doubt the lightest. This one, and here it is, this one. This one is not Liberty, but it feels like Liberty. It is literally almost a transparent fabric. This fabric is just an absolute conundrum to me. I feel like it's not a cotton, but it is sold as 100% cotton, and yet it feels like I don't know, like a satin polyester. It's so weird. Okay, so I'm going to stitch these two together, and I'm going to use a zigzag stitch right along the edge, which is what I do sometimes to finish off an edge. And I'm going to do another decorative stitch, but I'm going to do a decorative stitch from what I call page 2. I will choose this one because that's the one that they chose to use. I don't know how much bobbin thread I have. I may only be able to do a little bit of this. I don't know for sure. And they did actually return my thread to me that I had put on the bobbin spool, or the thread spool. Number 28. Okay, I will tell you guys that this is the prettiest that stitch has been in a long time. It's even. It didn't used to be even. That's really, really nice. I'm very happy about that. And that as well. We'll look at the reverse. They both look really nice on the reverse side. I hope you found some inspiring tips in this video. If you did like it, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. We would sure love to have you join us. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!